You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And, maybe this isn't the exact right story to be covering 16 hours before I hop on an airplane, but Ashley Jessica is on the line with us. An anti-TSA, actually anti-TSA would probably be the wrong way to say it, activist. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So your YouTube of being basically sexually groped by a TSA agent has gone viral across the internet. And would it be accurate to say that instead of being opposed to the TSA, you're opposed to the TSA groping people?
Exactly. I'm opposed.
So go ahead and tell us what happened and what you're doing about this.
So basically, my mom and I both opted out of the body scanner. And I was filming initially because I had a bad experience with TSA the year before, in which I was pretty much ordered around like a prisoner. And the TSA agent said she was going to touch my behind over and over again until I didn't flinch. And then I was given a pat down on camera. My brother turned on his camera, after that incident when I was really distressed. And I was given a pat down on camera, in which the TSA agent didn't come near my private parts. She was super polite. So I thought going into this situation that I would have the camera on to protect my rights and ensure that my mother and I weren't violated again. Prior to beginning the pat down, this agent cautioned us and said, "Are you sure you want to opt out? I have to let you know you'll be getting an extensive pat down where I'm going to go all the way up your leg with my hand until your thigh meets your torso." So I thought in that moment, okay.
That's kind of an area that is in the vulgar parlance described as the crotch, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can hear me saying at the beginning of the video, just to let you know you don't have permission to touch her private parts. I wanted to make that very clear. Mm-hmm. But as you can see in the video, my mother's pat down was less invasive than mine. She didn't have her private parts touched, but I did. And this is something that happens with TSA very, very frequently. Some people get their private parts touched. Some people don't. Mm-hmm. Some people have far worse experiences than I have and have their private parts grabbed. And, there was a report, a story a little bit ago where a 17-year-old the niece of a congresswoman, I believe, had her breasts exposed. I mean, the violations at the hands of the TSA are not new.
Yeah. It seems to me that there's a confluence of things going on here. One, we see this with police departments a lot, where you give somebody a badge and a gun and some authority, and for some small percentage of people, they don't handle that well. It goes to their head, and they become far more than authority figures. They become abusive. And you expect that you find that in any kind of police situation, and the TSA are certainly police. So it could be, you got the bad apple. The other thing, though, is that we have become, as a consequence of the way that George Bush reacted to 9/11, we have become a nation where we're all guilty until we prove that we're innocent, which is, in my mind, now you're Canadian, but I think you understand American law and the American Constitution. It seems like it's got it upside down. In fact, I came through a European airport just a couple of months ago, and I started to take my shoes off, and the woman I told the story on the air, the woman who was running the machine, and they only had magnetometers. They did not have, we refer to them here as the Michael Chertoff X-ray porno machines, because he made $30 million selling them to the government, the former head of the Department of Homeland Security. But they did not have those. They just had the old-fashioned magnetometers that we've had since the 80s. And I started to take my shoes off, and the woman says, "Oh, you don't have to take your shoes off. We're not afraid here like you are in the United States." And
someone tweeted that. Sorry to interrupt.
Go
someone
for it.
tweeted at me saying, in Europe we laugh at your I think she was, I can't recall exactly where she was from, but from a country where they only have the metal detectors. She's like, we laugh at American airports.
Yeah. This is the second or third time I've gotten a snarky remark about Americans from a European security person when I started to take my shoes off. I was like, they kind of delight in it. So anyhow, what's your call for action here? Well, obviously, you're publicizing the fact that you've been invited. My two questions. Number one, what's your call for action? And number two, how did you get them to let you video them? Because I've actually seen TSA agents forbid people from using cameras on them.
Yeah, so to answer your first question, I think that we all need to opt out of these body scanners. Like you mentioned, the X-ray scanner, it has been associated with an increased risk of cancer. When we were at this airport, there was the millimeter wave scanner. And I know a lot of people think that that is safe because it's not an X-ray scanner, but it has never been independently certified as safe. And there has been research. There was a study by a researcher named Alexandrov who found that the terahertz frequency waves that they use can actually unzip DNA and interfere with DNA replication.
Yeah, these are higher frequencies than microwaves.
Right. So I think we all need to opt out of these body scanners for the health risks, and everyone should be filming their pat downs to protect their rights and ensure that they don't have their private parts groped, that they're not ordered around like prisoners, and that they are treated with respect.
So the question, I mean, I was going through an airport, this was maybe a year and a half ago, and maybe policies have changed, but there was a person who was getting a pat down and somebody else pulled out a camera and started videoing it. Now, maybe it wasn't a family member and the TSA was trying to respect the privacy of the person being videoed. Maybe that's what it was about, and that I could understand. But the TSA person went over to the person with the cell phone that they were using as a camera and said, "You cannot film that."
Yeah. That's very common. During my experience in Virginia, that's what happened. You can hear the TSA agent saying on film to my brother, you can't record that. You don't have the right. It's illegal.
This is a secure area.
Right. She threatened to take me to court for him recording. She said we were violating her rights by filming. Yeah. So that happens very frequently. In this situation, they actually were polite about us filming. They didn't seem to give us really much trouble. He asked why we wanted to film, and I said it was to protect our rights. And he said, well, the security cameras we have on the roof will do that, but go ahead. And
well, let's give him credit for that.
Yeah. I mean, that was a relief to me. And I thought, okay, this may go very smoothly and she may not touch our private parts. And the TSA agents who patted us down were very polite. They weren't rude at all, like the ones in Virginia. Yeah. But she still did touch my private parts.
Right. So here's the other thing that I find amazing about this. We're talking with Ashley Jessica, whose YouTube video on this, youtube.com/Miss Ashley Jessica, has just absolutely gone viral about being groped by the TSA. Is Wednesday of next week. Louise and I and my wife and I and a couple of the people who work here are going to have dinner probably with the president. And, it's the correspondence dinner. I mean, he's like, the president and his wife and 400 of their best friends. And this will be the fourth time in the 3 years I've lived here in D.C. that I've had dinner with the president. And to do so, you don't even, there's no search, there's no want. You walk through a magnetometer and you don't have to take your shoes off. You would think that sitting in the same room, 50 feet from the president for 2.5 hours would be a bigger deal than getting on a jet. And it seems to me like this security theater thing has just completely gone off the rails.
It absolutely has. When we were in that line, before we got up to the front, they had a metal detector line open and people were just walking through that freely. And then as we were approaching the front, they roped it off and they opened up a second line that just had a millimeter scanner. So we had 2 lines with 2 scanners. We did not have a choice. Right. And all of a sudden, it becomes a security risk if we don't walk through the scanner or get an invasive pat down. But those 20 people who went in before us, they're fine. They can go through the metal detector.
Right. Yeah, we need to have a national conversation about this, and this is not political. This has to do with the basic right of people to be innocent until proven guilty, rather than the other way around. Ashley Jessica, youtube.com/Miss Ashley Jessica. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. It's 15 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Remarkable. Well, we'll see what happens to me tomorrow now. Stick around and we'll be right back.